Imagine a life defined by the vast, unfeeling concrete. A world where every shadow could hide danger, and every passing face offered only indifference. This isn't just a story about a dog finding a home. It's the incredible journey of a broken spirit, discarded and alone, who somehow, against all odds, chose his own destiny. He chose a family, and in doing so, he taught them more about love, trust, and resilience than they ever thought possible. This is the tale of Shadow, a dog whose unwavering heart proved that some bonds are simply meant to be. Get ready, because this is going to touch your soul. In a quiet corner of a bustling city, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds and life rushed by in an endless blur, there lived a silent observer. He was a creature of the night, a phantom of the alleys. His fur, once a vibrant sable, was matted with grime. His eyes, deep pools of brown, held the weariness of countless sunrises spent without warmth. They called him Shadow, though no one had ever really called him anything at all. He was just another stray, one of thousands, navigating a labyrinth of dumpsters and danger. His existence was a constant tightrope walk between survival and despair. Hunger gnawed at his belly like a persistent enemy. The chill of the pavement was his only bed. He learned quickly that humans were mostly indifferent, sometimes cruel, and rarely, if ever, kind. He kept his distance, a master of camouflage, melting into the urban landscape, his presence almost imperceptible. He had seen dogs like him disappear, lost to the unforgiving streets, and he clung to life with a fierce, quiet determination. Every day was a battle won. Another sunrise greeted with cautious optimism. One crisp autumn afternoon, a splash of color pierced Shadow's monochrome world. A family, bright and boisterous, emerged from a small, unassuming house on the edge of his territory. There was a father, a mother, and 2 children, a boy and a girl, their laughter echoing through the air like music. Shadow watched them from behind a thick hedge, his ears perked, his body tense. He had observed this family before. They always seemed to radiate a gentle energy, unlike the hurried footsteps and harsh voices he was accustomed to. They had a rhythm, a warmth that intrigued him. He saw the mother offer a dropped ice cream to a pigeon, the father patiently fixing a child's shoelace. Small gestures, perhaps, but to Shadow, they were monumental. A seed of something new, something fragile, began to sprout in his hardened heart. Curiosity. He started to follow them, not too close, always maintaining his invisibility. He would trail them to the park, watching the children play fetch with a bright red ball. He'd see them sit on their porch, sipping warm drinks, their voices soft and comforting. He longed to be closer, to feel that warmth, but fear was a relentless gatekeeper. Years of being shunned, kicked, and ignored had built an impenetrable wall around him. He knew the pain of hope, and he dared not let it in again. Yet, something about this family was different. They seemed to possess an unspoken understanding, a quiet empathy that drew him in despite himself. His tail, usually tucked tightly between his legs, would give the smallest, almost imperceptible wag when he saw them laughing together. It was a silent testament to a yearning he couldn't suppress. One evening, as dusk painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Shadow found himself closer to their house than ever before. He was scavenging near their back fence when he heard a faint cry. It wasn't human. It was small, desperate, and unmistakably feline. A tiny kitten, no bigger than his paw, had fallen from a low branch and was now tangled in some thorny bushes, mewling in distress. Shadow's instinct screamed at him to run, to stay hidden. This wasn't his fight, but then he saw the little creature struggling, its cries growing weaker. He hesitated. For a moment, his past, his fear, his survival instincts battled with something else, something primal and protective that stirred within him. He thought of the family, of their gentle hands, of the small pigeon they had fed, and then he acted. He crept forward carefully, slowly, pushing his nose into the prickly tangle. The kitten hissed, terrified, but Shadow was gentle. He nudged and nudged, pulling at the branches with his teeth, careful not to hurt the tiny animal. Finally, with a soft tug, he freed the kitten, which then immediately scrambled up his leg and hid in his matted fur, trembling. Just as he freed it, the back door of the house opened. It was the little girl, Emily, her bright eyes scanning the yard. She had heard the kitten's cries. She saw Shadow, a dark shape against the fence, a small, terrified ball of fluff nestled against his chest. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but in wonder. "Mom, Dad," she whispered, her voice a mix of awe and excitement. "Look, it's a dog, and he has a kitten." Her parents, Sarah and Tom, rushed out, their faces etched with concern. They saw the scene. The large, scruffy dog, the tiny, shivering kitten. But instead of shouting or shooing him away, they approached slowly, their movements deliberate and calm. Shadow tensed, ready to bolt, but the kitten, still clinging to him, seemed to calm his racing heart. He stood his ground, a silent guardian. Tom, the father, knelt down, his hand outstretched, palm open. "Hey there, fella," he said, his voice soft and non-threatening. "You found a friend, huh?" Shadow watched his hand, ready to dart. But Tom didn't move it closer. He just held it there, an offering of peace. Emily, meanwhile, pointed at the kitten. "He saved it, Daddy. The kitty was stuck." Sarah, the mother, smiled gently. "He's a hero, isn't he?" The words, hero, resonated in Shadow's mind. No one had ever called him that. No one had ever looked at him with such genuine kindness. In that moment, a decision was made, not by the family, but by Shadow himself. He took a tentative step forward, then another, the tiny kitten still tucked safely against him. He wasn't running away. He was choosing them. He was walking towards their warmth, their light. The days that followed were a delicate dance of trust and patience. The Millers understood that Shadow wouldn't simply walk into their home and become a pet overnight. He carried scars, both visible and invisible. They set up a warm bed for him on their enclosed porch, leaving food and fresh water, giving him space. Emily and her brother, Josh, would sit by the glass door, quietly talking to him, reading him stories. Shadow would watch them, his head cocked, absorbing every gentle word, every soft gaze. The kitten, which they named Whisper, had become Shadow's anchor. It seemed to understand his fear, often rubbing against him, purring, a tiny beacon of comfort. Whisper's presence seemed to tell Shadow, "It's okay. They're good." One rainy afternoon, a fierce thunderstorm broke out. The booming thunder and flashes of lightning sent Shadow into a panic. He cowered in his bed, trembling, the memories of past storms, of being alone and exposed, flooding his mind. Sarah found him like that, curled into a tight ball, whimpering. Without a thought, she sat down next to his bed, not touching him, but just being there. She started to speak to him in a low, soothing voice, telling him about the storm, how it would pass, how he was safe. And then, slowly, tentatively, she extended her hand and began to stroke his matted fur gently, carefully. Shadow flinched at first, but her touch was feather-light, reassuring. It wasn't a grab, it wasn't a hit. It was pure, unadulterated comfort. He leaned into it, trembling less, his eyes closing, allowing himself to feel safe for the first time in his life. That was the breakthrough. The barrier had truly begun to crumble. As weeks turned into months, Shadow blossomed. The matted fur was brushed and cleaned, revealing the rich sable coat beneath. His gaunt frame filled out, and the weary eyes began to sparkle with life and mischief. He discovered the joy of soft beds, regular meals, and endless head scratches. He learned to play, chasing balls with Josh, letting Emily dress him in silly hats. But it wasn't just him who changed. The Millers, too, were transformed. Shadow brought a quiet peace into their home, a grounding presence. Tom found himself spending more time in the yard, simply watching Shadow explore. Sarah, who had always been a little anxious, found solace in Shadow's calm presence, his head resting on her lap. The children learned patience, empathy, and the profound responsibility of caring for another being. Shadow wasn't just a pet. He was a family member, a silent therapist, a furry guardian. But there was still a lingering shadow in his past. Sometimes, a loud noise, a sudden movement, would send him cowering, reminding them of the trauma he carried. They knew they had only touched the surface of his history. Then came the unexpected twist. One day, while Sarah was looking through old newspaper clippings for a school project with Emily, she stumbled upon a small article, several years old. It was about a fire that had ravaged a local animal shelter. The headline read, "Miracle Survivor Dog Found After Shelter Fire." The accompanying picture was blurry, but there was no mistaking the distinctive markings. The shape of the head. It was Shadow. The article mentioned he had been rescued from the blaze, but then, overwhelmed and terrified, he had bolted, disappearing into the city before anyone could properly identify him or provide follow-up care. He wasn't just abandoned. He had times escaped, times a traumatic event, and been too terrified to trust again. His resilience was even more profound than they had imagined. He hadn't just been a stray. He had been a survivor, battling a silent war against his own past. The Millers realized then that his choice to trust times was not just a random act of a hungry dog, but a profound, almost spiritual decision by a creature deeply wounded, yet still capable of immense love. He had found his safe harbor. Shadow now lies curled by the fireplace, a soft snore escaping his lips. Whisper, no longer a tiny kitten but a sleek, confident cat, is nestled beside him, purring contentedly. The scene is one of perfect tranquility, a testament to the power of second chances. He is no longer the phantom of the alleys, but a cherished member of the Miller family. His story isn't just about survival. It's about courage, about the quiet strength to heal, and about the transformative power of unconditional love. He chose them, and in doing so, he opened their hearts to a love they never knew they needed. His journey from the cold concrete to the warm embrace of a family reminds us that every creature, no matter how broken, deserves a chance at happiness. It reminds us that empathy can bridge any divide, and that sometimes the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected places. Shadow's story is a living testament to the fact that love truly does conquer all. His eyes, once filled with fear, now shine with joy and contentment. His tail, once hidden, wags freely, a joyful rhythm to his days. He found his family, not by chance, but by an act of deliberate choice. He saw the goodness in their hearts, even when his own was shattered. And in their unwavering kindness, he found the courage to trust again, to love again, to live again. This isn't just a happy ending. It's a new beginning, a testament to the incredible journey of a dog who chose his own forever. If Shadow's incredible tale touched your heart, please give this video a big thumbs up. Every like helps us share these amazing stories with more people around the world. And if you believe in the power of second chances and the magic of animal companions, hit that subscribe button and join our Dog and Cat Universe Hub family. We have so many more heartwarming and inspiring stories to share with you. What part of Shadow's journey resonated with you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Your thoughts mean the world to us.